Or something?
Yeah, we're on air now.
Oh,
So
we're live. Oh, wonderful.
all right. Well, hello and welcome. I'm back after a very long hiatus from my YouTube channel, and I am lucky enough to have the old Cappy himself joining me. And this should be a lot of fun. Two Gen Xers are going to just kind of talk a little
Angry.
bit.
Very angry Gen Xers. Very pissed off.
Well, Aaron Clarey and angry, that's kind of redundant, isn't it?
It is. It's yes. It's implied, especially today.
Especially today. Well, anyway, so how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
Aside from temporary anger, I'm doing very well. Things have never gone better. I'm glad you're coming back. You had the voice for, I'd like to say radio, but radio is a dying, if not already dead, industry. So I'm glad that you're going to go and back and doing the. Where have you been?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess I just been. I don't know. I think after the Trump thing, I kind of got burnt out on this whole YouTube thing and everything. I just, and it became, I guess I kind of developed a fear of getting involved in internet e-drama or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. What's his name? Beckloff's sidekick had to drop out because he was actually getting social anxiety over it or trauma or something like that. And yeah, you have to unplug. You have to unplug or you become what you hate.
Yeah. And it's, and then like you see kind of where it's going now with the Kumite and all this stuff where it's kind of, let's be honest, it kind of brings out the worst in human nature a little bit. A lot of this stuff, if you're not careful, you can get really sucked into it and you lose a distinction between your YouTube or internet life and real life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, the Kumite, what is this? Is this the Rock'em Sock'em robots? Like you invite people under false pretenses and then they fight or something, or what?
I think it's just basically just getting people on who disagree with each other and just, have them, kind of attack each other. And it's basically everybody just tunes in for the fucking train wreck of it.
So it's Jerry Springer or
that's probably a good way to, from what I understand. I only watched one episode of it, but I just hear people talking about it and all that kind of thing. And it's not really something that interests me. Maybe it's our age, Aaron. We kind of lose, don't have that kind of interest. You get to be a man in your 40s and you're like, you know what? I got better things to do.
Yeah. Not only do we have better things to do, but I'm sure I did some math and I'm almost 45. And if you break it down into 3 15s, you're like, holy shit. Like, okay, the first 15 years of your life seemed like it took forever, in part because you were in school, but you're also a kid. Everything's new. Then 15 to 30, that was like trying to figure out everything in dating and college and career. And all of a sudden you're a mensch, a true man by the age of 30. But man, the past roughly 15 years is gone. And not to sound like, times are flying. Time is fucking flying. And I'm thinking like another 15 years, I'll be 60. And my life is too damn short to be getting pissed off. I don't know a damn thing about Comey. I don't know anything about the Russians or Trump. And what shocks me is all these people, older and presumably wiser than me, who piss away hours, days of their lives. Oh my God, did you see Fox News this and CNN that, and the Trump, they came out with this memo. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I love myself and I'm way too fucking important to get caught up in this bullshit and drama, let alone a bunch of real nerds, not cool nerds or geeks, but like genuine nerds who have nothing else going on to get caught up in their fucking Kuomintang, which I thought was the name of the Taiwanese party under Chiang Kai-shek. Apparently means something different now. But I don't have time to get caught up in this petty bullshit, let alone, like, I was kind of shocked when what's his name, Undertow dropped out because the Trump thing was too stressful. I'm like, how much stress have you had in your life that an election, like, holy shit, man, really? Like, you gotta go take some meds. And not to say he did, but I'm not, I can't let that get to my life. And so, very apropos to what you said, I step outside now, I don't see politics. I go to ride my motorcycle. I don't think Trump. I don't like the people in Fort Collins. Don't know if you heard this, but someone was driving down the streets of Fort Collins and realized most of them were named after men. So now there's a law being passed where they have to change the street names to women. Like
Christ.
How my life is way better than that, way more important than that. I got, like you said, way more important shit going on, and I'm going to fucking die. So terribly sorry if I'm ignorant about the news. No, I didn't know what Trump tweeted. I don't know what fucking big-titted whore porn star came out and said whatever about him this time. I don't care if he fucked her silly. I just don't care. And now I'm going to go and do my thing and have fun in life. And so that's kind of where I am now.
Well, on that same vein, I did something about several months back. You specifically be very proud of me for this. I cut the cord. I no longer have cable. No Fox News, no CNN, no none of that.
And the $120 bill that comes with it or something?
Yeah, I think mine, I had it packaged with the internet. I kept my internet, obviously, because we're doing this. But I was paying with the internet and the cable, I was paying with all the tax and fees with like 112 and change.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy.
And I know people were paying more than that because they would I didn't have any premium channels. I didn't have like HBO or any of that stuff. So I got rid of all that stuff, and I got for $9, I got a little HD antenna. I can get my local broadcast or whatever. So, if I ever do want to watch television, I can,
Mm-hmm. You're going to find out you're not going to want to. There's nothing on. It's just.
No, there isn't. That was kind of it. Actually, even with like when I had the 500 freaking channels, there was nothing on. So, but I'm like, if I want to watch the local news or something, I can still do that. So it's not like I'm completely isolated myself. But, I just did that. And, kind of like on your vein of, cutting unnecessary costs, things like that. I know that's a topic near and dear to your heart. Oh, and, yeah. and not just the amount of money you're saving, you're saving, anywhere from 50 to $100 a month by getting rid of that stuff. But how much time suckage there is, like watching these 24-hour news channels, because they actually hypnotize you. I remember doing that during the campaign period, where I'm watching it like on a Saturday or Sunday, say an afternoon, where I didn't necessarily have anything to do, I had free time, and I realized I was watching one show after the other, and it was the same news being reported, just a different person telling you it. You didn't learn anything new.
No. Well, and the other thing is what ultimately the first question I'm asking about things, and it's hard because you're emotional and you care and all that other stuff, is do I control it? And once I realized if I don't control it, I stop paying attention to the news. I stop paying attention to financial news because I don't control the stock market. I certainly don't watch The View or the daytime talk shit where women.
I'm shocked, Aaron. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know that much I knew, but and a lot of more our audience. Let's not kiss their ass, but let's be accurate. They're probably a little bit more intelligent than average. You think, I ought to pay attention to the news. That's what good citizens do. I should pay attention to the financial markets and financial news because I care about my retirement. And after a while, I'm like, nope, don't control it. Not paying attention to it. And so politics, financial news. I never really paid attention to sports, but you want to talk about a lower class of IQ people who watch sports analysis. You guys ought to be dragged out in the street and shot. Do you control the outcome of the hockey game? The Saints or not the Saints, the Wilds in the playoffs. Oh my God, everyone's wearing jerseys. And it's like, you really control the outcome? No, you don't. And what people I think are fine, and like kind of what you realize is the time. Just like how many days was it nice outside you were watching the news? And you could have been outside playing.
Absolutely right. Right. And especially, I live in Seattle, so I got to take advantage of my nice days. Okay. We get this 3-month fucking window, and you got to use it, man. You got to get that vitamin D. You got to stock up on it for your body because you ain't going to be seeing the sun for another fucking 9 months out here.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. It can't be involved in that. But, I want to touch on something because it's not something I think I've ever talked about in any of my, live streams, stuff like that. But I mean, you're a financial guy and stuff like that. And I was wondering if we could just kind of briefly talk a little bit about investing in money and stuff like that. I know you say you don't watch the markets like on a daily basis, but you got to, I guess at least quarterly or maybe,
well, they throw it up in your face. Like you can see it, like, you'll log out if you're, Dow Jones up to this or this, or if there's a genuine news story, like, Federal Reserve does X, Y, and Z. And then also I do teach these finance classes online. So I do have to pay some attention, but I ain't waking up at 5 a.m. to see the markets open in New York City. Like, what are the futures doing? Oh my God. So I do pay some attention, but certainly not more than I need to.
Yeah. Well, actually there was a point in my life in the late 90s where I did a lot of options trading and I actually made a good bit of money actually doing that. because that was during the bull time, you know, and you know,
Sure,
the way
dot-com mania, right.
yeah, and during that time, I kind of lucked. You know, I got very fortunate in the stock market, or well, capital markets, not just the bond market as well. I mean, one of the ways I was able to buy the place that I own was I bought all these junk bonds when I think I had $8,000 at the time. I was in college, and I bought junk bonds of Chrysler. This is when they were about to go into their second bankruptcy.
Okay.
And everybody thought they were going to be bankrupt, so I bought all these junk bonds. And they I can't remember the guy's name. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He was a billionaire. And
Lee Iacocca?
No, not that was the first bankruptcy in the 80s. But there was another guy.
Not Kevorkian. Kevorkian's the doctor. There's another billionaire. Carl Icahn?
That's it. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So this is what happened. This is what made my first money in the markets. So to prevent going bankrupt, they had another stock offering. You know, kind of just begging for money. They're going to dilute their shares in this hope, whatever. But anyway, this guy, for some reason, you think this guy, you know, he decided he still wanted to keep his 10% stake. So in order to keep his 10%, he had to buy at least 10% of the new offerings. Okay. So everybody was like on bated breath, not knowing whether this guy was going to buy it or not. But then when he did, because he was a billionaire, I don't know whatever happened to the guy. I don't follow. Everybody else did, and then the market turned, and then my bonds shot through the fucking roof. And I just made out like a bandit, and that was what I used for the down payment on my condo.
Awesome. In Seattle.
In Seattle, yeah.
Which has maybe gone up a little bit since 1998.
Yeah, not to toot my horn, I'm going to speak a little bit about my own personal finances here, but I bought this place for $151.
Oh my God!
It's now worth about $600.
Oh my God, that's fucking awesome!
And I own it outright.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't
buy it. In full disclosure, I didn't buy it outright. I mean, I've lived here I paid it off in about 14 and a half years.
Okay, maybe accelerated payments. Yeah.
And that's something, if people speaking about money and finance, if you can do that, if you can make an extra payment with 13 payments a year instead of 12, do that, because if you look at the
amortization
of your mortgage, you'll see that you can do this on the internet. There's free tools for it. You'll see that all the money in the beginning is just going through interest, and you're not building up any fucking equity.
Right.
So you want to get those payments out of the way, the interest done. You want to chip away at what you actually owe, and then more and more your payments are going into the equity of your home, which you own. You actually
It's accelerating the amortization. You pay down as much as you can early on as possible. And I forgot, it depends on your interest rate and everything. But if you make an extra principal payment day one of your mortgage, I think it lops off like 2 years of your mortgage. Yeah. I mean, it really is. So the earlier you can pay, that's why I always recommend people work a second job and pay off, at least not pay off their mortgage, but make some huge principal payments early on to just knock that balance down, because it really does accelerate your amortization and pays off that mortgage earlier.
And it's a great peace of mind to have when you have that equity, because people buy a home, and especially when I bought my place, it was back in the mid 90s, and back in those days, you were kind of expected to put 20% down. Right. Now people put like what, 2% down? Aaron?
Oh, you could get 3% FHA, and then it's shipped off to the secondary market, and you don't even have banks approving these loans. You got mortgage brokers who never hold. They broker it. They're just like, okay, we'll set off in the secondary market. So, they don't even hold it. They're supposed to be the guardians, and okay, sure, whatever you put on this piece of paper. Hey, Wall Street, buy this crap, But that's it's down to 3% nowadays.
Yeah, which is insane that people are lending them money. I mean, people, during the housing crisis, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a massage therapist. How much do you make a year? I don't know, 18, 20,000. Okay, yeah, well, you're approved for $500 million loan.
Yeah, this doesn't have any. This is principal free. It's interest only. It's fine, and don't worry what happens 3 years later. God Almighty. So, but yeah, no, that's great, dude. That you paid off that house. Why are you even in Seattle anymore? Why don't you sell that? Go to Spokane. Go on the other side of this Cascades where there's sun and mountains, and just like retire or do something else.
Well, the main reason is I don't mean to be crass, but I don't have a live-in woman, so it's to get laid regularly.
Oh, okay. It's a target rich environment you live in.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not really great because Seattle has way too many men
Yeah.
because so
IT industry and all that.
yeah, the IT industry and stuff like that. And newer cities in general tend to have way more men because men are more likely to travel for work. At least they were. So there's way more men than women in Seattle. It's really bad that way.
Mm.
And any tech in, I mean, so like Chicago was great. I remember I always used to love traveling to Chicago when I was in my 20s.
Mm.
I don't know if it still is, but the ratio used to be great there. I mean, you could not help but get laid in Chicago, or even New York was great too. I mean, these were the places I remember, like when I was in my 20s and early 30s. I visited New York all the time, so that's where I'm from, and I'd be hanging out in the bar in New York, just bullshitting with a buddy of mine, and girls would just come up to us and start conversations.
Mm.
I mean, you never had to open or anything.
I think it was also more back in the 90s as well too, where women were. I thought they were pretty bad, but by God, by today's standards, they were pretty good. But yeah, I lived in Chicago in the 90s as well, and it was just like, hey, how you doing? I mean, I don't think I ever got shut down for a date. Like, hey, you want to go dance? Hey, you want to go to that? And they're like, yeah, let's do that. And you're like, what? Wait, what? I'm sorry. Oh, you're from Chicago. Oh, all right. But yeah, it's and based on my friends who live in Chicago, it's still a great place to meet women. Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly better than Seattle. I mean, if you're I recommend people going to Chicago to, just check it out and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot, we know we have mutual acquaintances that live in Chicago and stuff like that, and they tend to have nothing but negative things to say about it now. So I can't really speak to it accurately, but I had a lot of good times there.
Mm-hmm. So then what? So if there's all these, if it's a sausage party in Seattle, again, why don't you sell your house and move and go to, like, say, Texas or something, or someplace that's warm and sunny and even within reasons. Washington.
I thought about like moving. I have considered moving actually, and if I do, I would probably go. I would stay in the Pacific Northwest because I do like. I'm somewhat of a firearms enthusiast. I guess you say I'm part of the gun culture. Right. I enjoy that kind of a thing. So I could never move to like a very a liberal place that has all these anti-gun laws and things like that. I'm part of that. I have like those kind of leanings, so I couldn't be around that. So that kind of restricts me, where I can go. Also, I mean, I've been here for a long time now, and I, have my friends and my social circle here and all that kind of stuff. So, there's that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, in theory, I could sell my place. It would be, a shitload of cash. I could buy an actual house. I mean, I mean, what people are paying for apartments is insane. In especially the specific neighborhood of Seattle that I'm in right now. Mm-hmm. It's right near Amazon and Facebook and all these other periphery companies have like opened up like when a big company opens up, all these other smaller companies open up to do
support companies and infrastructure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like this huge housing shortage here, and they're building condos everywhere around me and stuff like that. It's kind of fucking up my view. I have this gorgeous view of Lake Union, which is disappearing rapidly. But yeah, so I probably will just sell because it's going to get to the point where I can't justify not cashing in that check. I just don't know where to, put it down. You know what I mean?
I say go, unless your career required you to stay in Seattle. And I understand the roots you've planted socially and all that, because it depends on. But man, I would still stay in no income tax state, Washington. I go Spokane, Leavenworth, Yakima, something. But if you don't like that, man, Nevada, Las Vegas, Denver's too expensive. You got to pay state income taxes there, but that's a fun town. Texas, Dallas is a fun town. Tennessee, Florida, kind of depends what you want, but you could buy multiple houses and rent them out, or you could just go buy a ton of land and parcel it out on the outskirts of some burgeoning metro area. If you play your cards just even half right, you could retire. Like, you would never have to really work again, because that is a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
Well, I guess if I was really minimalistic, I could do that. Speaking of which, okay, here's a little bit of news that happened to me in real life news. You might have known this. I'm not sure if you're on my Facebook, but I had my car stolen. One of the benefits of urban living.
Oh, that's not supposed to happen in socialist utopia Seattle.
Yeah, no, not supposed to, right? And check this out, right? So I we have a lot of things in common about, being frugal and stuff like that. I bought my car new right after a successful trade in 2000. I bought a brand new Honda Civic. And, had it, a black. I had the spoiler, exactly the way I wanted it, all my options, everything like that. Babied the shit out of it. Had it for 18 years. Had it serviced, religiously, treated it like a baby. And I live in a building that, garage, secure building, electronic fob to come in and all that kind of shit, whatever.
Right.
Motherfuckers broke into the front door of the building at 2:30 a.m. I saw the surveillance tapes. Go in the garage, break into a couple of cars, and then use my car as a fucking getaway with all their shit.
Your 18-year-old's Honda Civic, huh?
Yeah, but people laugh. I say, "Oh, an 18-year-old dude, I love this car." You drive the same car for fucking 18 years. That's the longest relationship I had in my life, with the exception of my parents. Okay, I've never had a girl longer than 18 months, so this was an intimate thing. So because someone else stole it and used it in multiple felonies, I had to get a new woman, and I just bought a new car. And one of the dilemmas I was going to ask you 2 cents on this, on the off chance that someone listening to this now or in the future wants to know, what are your feelings about buying versus leasing when it comes to a car?
It depends on the lease. Like, you can get some really cheap leases. Me personally, I've always paid cash for cars, and there are a lot of cheap cars out there. You could find low mile cars for cheap. I bought a car. It's 2006 subcompact, paid $5,000, 27,000 miles. My Kia Rio that I used to have, $3,500, 33,000 miles. If you're willing to go and drive, and that's the thing, you got to make the United States your shopping mall. There are some cars within, 100, 200, maybe 300 miles of your area where there's a dealer or somebody's just trying to look to get rid of it. Nowadays, you can look at Carfax. You can look it all up online. You find out it has nothing. It's just this car and you're talking your Kia Rios, your subcompacts, of Fits, of Veos, Cavaliers. These are just and they're more hassle for dealers to deal with than to make money on. So they just kind of get rid of them. They'll take them in on trade. They'll fix them up a little bit. And I've had great luck finding dirt cheap cars with low miles. And so that's what I do, is I spend the time, because you think about it, aside from a house, and nowadays your education, used to just be cars and houses were two most expensive. Now it's education. But up there, the number one expense you're going to have is cars. And if you don't buy or lease expensive, God almighty, I see some leases. Lease this Cadillac Escalade for $699 a month. I'm like, my mortgage wasn't even that much. Like, fuck you. I go buy a piece of crap, well, they're not horrible, but they're not fancy cars for dirt cheap and cash. I drive them into the ground, and then I go get a new one, or a new used one. Newer. Right. So I got a 2003 Silverado that still works. I got my 2006 car we just bought. And then a bunch of motorcycles, but that's kind of a different ball game. But that's what I would recommend. But yeah, the lease depends. Sometimes the lease is so cheap. I saw one guy who was paying $100 a month for a Saturn. Now, of course, this was quite some time ago when Saturn was around. But in general, I don't know. It's like, fuck, you gotta deal with the lease. You gotta go over your mileage. Just they're so, and especially now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you had the .com bubble, then you had the housing bubble, and it's nowhere near as big as either of those. But there's the auto loan bubble, where dealer financiers and small-time financiers and all that made horrendous loans, car loans, like a 7-year car loan. I mean, what collateral are you going to collect after 7 years? And so these people have been defaulting. They've had to go and repossess. A lot of these car finance companies have gone bankrupt, and now they're part of the inventory is the cars that they've repossessed. And then also the rental market industry. There's a whole fleet. I want to say millions, but don't quote me on that. But a huge supply of used cars coming from the leasing companies that's about to hit the market. So at minimum, I'd say used car prices are going to stay stable. If not, they're going to go down because just a flood of them about to hit the market. But right now, I mean, if you go online and look, you'll be able to find a car. If you're willing to spend $5,000, you should be able to find a car somewhere in the United States with less than 30,000 miles on it. And that's what I recommend. One and done. Don't bother with that lease stuff and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. That's what I did. I looked into it, and basically the only advantage to leasing, as far as I could tell, was if you were able to deduct the lease as a business expense.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't an option for me. I'm not even sure how that would work. I guess if your company leases the car, like you do it through your corporation, and like if you like there might be a way where you could be able to do that if you could argue that the car was you know this because you're Mr. Money Guy, mm-hmm. But for most people that's really not an option. So yeah, I would say if you buy it as a cash thing, be fucking done with it. Then you own it. You can treat it well, and if you know when it comes time to sell it, if you have half a fucking brain, if you take care of it, you can probably get most of your money back.
Right. Yeah. Or in my case, like you run up to 200,000 miles, and then all of a sudden the repairs aren't even worth, the car, and then you're looking at we were looking at about 2,500 to fix a car that had 200,000. It was a Kia Rio, for crying out loud. It's like, let's throw that towards another new car. But yeah, I've never, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd almost bet good money on it that if people just bought cars for cash and got rid of the desire to look flashy or impress girls or impress the girls at the nail salon, and you didn't get Range Rovers, everyone drove Kia Rios, I bet you we wouldn't have financial problems. Everyone would have adequately funded 401ks, houses would be paid off. But, people, they got to have that brand new Mercedes. They got to have that Cadillac Escalade. But,
Well, that's when they tried to push the lease on it. By the way, the car dealerships, this is how they're making the money, is on leasing, getting the income coming in. And they were really pushing me on the lease thing where they would take $1,000 off the price if I would lease it. But there's all these little weird things in the lease agreement. Like if you go over a certain amount of miles, you have to pay so much per mile. I mean, there's all sorts of weird things. And then there's something called gap insurance. I won't get into all this stuff, but if anyone that's in that position right now, I don't want to make this all about cars, but it was kind of funny about this. Pretty much buy the fucker with cash. Buy a used car if you know about cars. I caution people about buying used cars if they don't know dick. Mm-hmm. Okay, because you can get it can get really dangerous. Mm-hmm. If you're shelling out $5,000 and you don't have an extra $5,000 laying around, that's a big $5,000. You got to really know what the fuck you're doing. Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing with the lease though, my one rule is what was my one rule? If I don't control it, I don't care. My very second rule is less moving parts, less problems. And the lease just sounds like there's a whole lot of moving parts. Sounds like there's a lot of unnecessary complication. It's like you buy it, get it insured, you're done. All you got to do is maintenance and oil changes, and that's it. So just forget the lease if for anything, the headache and the bullshit you got to deal with the actual owner of the car.
Yeah, what's that expression? Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple. Yeah, absolutely. So
that's basically your philosophy on life, Aaron, isn't it? Like how is it that your basic philosophy on life, your overview about most things is basically fuck the bullshit. I'm just going to live my life, and especially now you're having kind of an existential moment now. Pushing 45. Mm-hmm. You're thinking about that. You said, well, do I have more days behind or more days in front? That was a scary time. I remember hitting 45. Wasn't that long ago for me. Mm-hmm. And it was that kind of thing. We're thinking, well, geez, how many days are there? I got more behind than I do in front. That's no
doubt. Thing. Yeah. Well, and that's why my focus has gone from money to time, which are very closely related and correlated throughout all your life, but especially younger. I mean, you got to sacrifice time to make the money. Now, because I've been frugal, I paid off my house, I don't have a mortgage, I bought rental property, I played my cards right early, I sacrificed in the past. Now, money is not as important to me as time. And I do not tolerate bullshit at all in my life because it wastes my time. So I again, normally they're one and the same, but I look at things more in terms of time. I know a buddy, he makes millions. But he works 60 hours a week and he's 52. And I'm like, dude, stop. Just stop. You won. You got enough of you. Oh no, I got to keep going. And here I am. I'm out golfing or hiking or riding a motorcycle or whatever else. And you'd be amazed how many people they just can't let go. You know, they got to hold on when they have more than enough money to retire. And so that's how I'm looking at it now. And yeah, to keep it simple is simply to save time. You know, I'm really fearing once the cars I'm starting to buy are like 2010 or 2015 or later, and I got all these electrical systems that I never asked for, and you know, starter systems that I can't repair, and now I got to be a computer hacker to fix a car and not a mechanic. And I'm like, God darn, they're getting, because that's one thing I liked about the Kia. It's like it didn't even have air conditioning. Not that it was broken. It didn't come with air conditioning. One less thing to break, and you could just, it was like Legos. You could fix the car real easy.
Yeah,
but the
duct tape and a screwdriver. That's all you need.
Well, I did have a hanger holding up the exhaust pipe for a while there. That worked fine. But that's in life. Yeah, that's how I live the life in general. Is like, how is this going to benefit me more time, or how much time is this going to cost me? Because I'm trying to pack as much fun and enjoyment in life before I pass away, and that's inevitably what most people should be aiming for to get to.
Yeah, you know, I had someone sent me a direct message on my Twitter, and they were asking me like a religious question and stuff like that. You know, I know you're somewhere between an atheist and an agnostic. Is that correct?
I'm agnostic. Yeah, I'm not. Everyone keeps saying I'm a Republican atheist who hates the gays. It's like, no, I'm an atheist libertarian who's actually pro-gay marriage. But that's, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not that you're pro-gay marriage. You just don't want the government dictating.
Right. Right. Yeah. But no, I'm agnostic. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But someone asked me like a question about it, and you know, my beliefs. You know, I guess people called me a pagan. That's just a word they use. But I said, well, they were asking me a question about the afterlife. I said, well, one of the reasons I had an affinity for the religion I have, if you want to call it that, is because it focuses on this life, not the afterlife. Mm-hmm. So that you know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. And I do believe you need a spiritual belief system to deal with the unknowable and the incomprehensible. And by that, I mean, you know, things that cannot be explained yet by science, or may never be explained by science, or also tragedies in your life. Like not too long ago, a couple of years ago, it seems like yesterday to me, my oldest friend died suddenly and tragically of a heart attack while he was working on the job. He was an iron worker. And he was working overtime on a Saturday, and literally had a heart attack right on the job, and, you know, the widowmaker, and died. And it was really tragic. And things like that, you need some sort of in my opinion, maybe some people don't, but most of us need some sort of religious framework to deal with this, if nothing else, just psychologically, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, perfect sense, because I've been looking back into religion, and it's because you can't look into that abyss. You can logically conclude all you want, but the concept of finiteness and you losing your sentience and your consciousness. And where was I before? I don't remember before being bored. Hell, I don't even remember much before the age of 3. All of a sudden, hey, all the shit that you've known the entirety of your entire existence, gone. And not like, oh, now we're up in the clouds, or there's this blackness. You're not even around to consciously know what the blackness is. A true end, that is an abyss that you very few, if any, can look at and not be affected. And then you got to start kicking around like, okay, what kind of philosophy? I hate to call it religion. I prefer to call it a philosophy. What kind of afterlife philosophy do I want to subscribe to? For exact reasons you point out, it's almost impossible to digest with just like, oh, that's it, that's over. Well, then, and let's say that is it. Then you got to ask, okay, then what the hell is this all about? Well, that again requires philosophy and some inner thinking. And somewhere I think the answer might be in one of the many different religions out there. But yeah, so even though I'm agnostic, now that I don't have to worry about fucking putting food on the table and I can afford the heat pill, you know, now it's like, oh, we're beyond Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And now we have to think of more esoteric matters like, oh, crap, that's a problem to think about now, isn't it? So yeah, I'm with you there with your Wiccan religion, or having to have something to kind of deal with that.
Yeah, and I think it's essential to, you know, anyway, for my sanity, it's kind of essential, I suppose. You know, because like, I mean, you were probably raised some sort of Christian or something like that, right?
My dad was a pastor. He rather insisted on it, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. What is it with all the people I've become friends with on the internet? They all seem to be, you know, sons of pastors and stuff like that. I mean,
because there's one or two type of preachers' kids. They're either the goody two shoes, You ever see that? It's a meme. It's Captain America. He's the good preacher's kid. Then it's Tony Stark. He's the bad preacher's kid.
Okay. The duality of man.
Yeah, right. You either become another good, obedient Christian and kind of like, what's his name? The guy who died recently, and his son is a pastor as well. Or you become this rebel, like fuck that church and fuck religion and fuck Jesus and fuck all that. And then, and it depends on how you're raised. If your dad or your parents are particularly strict, you go out and fuck everything. You go out, you get into drugs, you get into fights. If you're a girl, you grab a guy. If you're a guy, you grab a girl, preferably two. And you just go and have fun because your parents won't let you have any. And inevitably you come around. But the larger point is that because the upbringing is so skewed, whether you're the good pastor or, Captain America preacher kid or Tony Stark preacher kid, you're going to be galvanized a lot harder. I think you're going to become a much more interesting person so that you end up like, you're not going to find a boring preacher's kid. You just won't. We're not boring. We're very interesting and we'll show you. But that's probably why you end up, because you're not exactly Mr. Ho-hum tapioca pudding yourself. Yeah, you probably are going to find some interesting people, of which a disproportionate percentage of them will be preacher's kids.
Okay, makes sense. Fair enough. And I've been very fortunate with my internet friendships, as I've met some extremely interesting people, and we share a lot of mutual acquaintances on the internet. And you got to admit, we have some interesting internet friends.
Oh, it's the best. Oh, I'd have it no other way. I mean, this is, heaven. Could you imagine if we were normal people that had friends at the water cooler and the fucking cubicle slave and then the frumpy wife? No, we know the fucking Beckloff. We know weirdos like fucking Forney, Sturzinger herself. Oh, is she a freak of nature? I love her. I mean, life would not be complete without knowing Anne. So yeah, hell yeah. No, it makes life. We get the best spice in life hanging out with these people. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Anne. I read her book not too long ago. By the way, plug for Anne Sturzinger's new book. What's Murder on the Scene? How do you pronounce that name of that French river? Anyway, Google Anne Sturzinger. I interviewed her once about her first book, Novsquim, which is Latin for nowhere, and a very interesting lady, to say the least. But
yeah, don't read it when it's dark or you're sad. Don't read Anne when you're dark or sad.
Yeah, well,
go to Disney World and read it while you're lying on the beach. Otherwise,
yeah, Anne has a certain worldview that's hard to encapsulate. You just need to read one of her novels, and she'll take you to the abyss. And I'll just leave it at that, and you can unravel that mystery for yourself. But anyway, interesting lady, and one of many men and women we've come to know through the internet is very interesting. Because I was thinking about this earlier about my in real life friends that don't really have any sort of internet presence. I generally never speak to them about any sort of heavy topics. Like we talk about things like women, guns, cars. At least I do, and my internet friends, it seems like we tend to broach subjects that are, talk about religion or something like that. I mean, some of my friends, I'll talk a little bit about politics. We don't really get into it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of interesting. Like, it's kind of good that I kind of have this dichotomy to my circle, so to speak, because I can talk about all these really diverse, interesting topics, like I talk about religion with, Pastor Tom, I think, at least tangentially, and or Artistic Layman, who's also a very devout Christian and stuff like that. But another pastor's son. And
yeah, he's the Captain America type. He's the good one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy. I think actually he's so good. I think he's the only person besides Jesus that was born without original sin.
Right.
Yeah, if anyone knows him, he's that. So talk to people like that. And then there's really interesting people like the Beckloff, who has the most what's the word? Eclectic interests. I mean, he's interested in everything from conservative politics to figurines.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it's my favorite podcast, is because, okay, you get a little bit of politics in there, but I tune in for the geekery. Like he's talking. I didn't know who Chris Chan was. Did you know who Chris Chan was before he started talking about it?
No, I didn't. Actually, there's a lot of people I didn't know that I wish I didn't know. I didn't know what bug chasers were either.
Well, it's the Pandora's box. It's like you would have no idea this stuff exists unless you tuned into the Beckloff. And I'm glad I did, because I know it's frivolous and ultimately pointless, but I'm kind of wondering, like, yeah, what is the drama over at what's the channel? Channel Awesome. What's going on with those guys? I don't know these people. Never heard of them before. I don't affect it or control it, but they sounded like a bunch of socialist douchebags. So I hope they get what's coming to them. You know, so it's a reprieve. It's a respite from the fucking daily tortures of life and regular politics and shit you got to deal with. So no, I absolutely love listening to Beckloff, and not that I'm friends with any of these people, but I've been tuning into a ton of different podcasts, like history podcasts about Britain and Russia and all that. But yeah, the number of friends that I have, if I look at in my real life of friends, they are good people, but they're boring. They're essentially dead now. No one goes out and does anything. But the funnest times I have now, I may have to ride my motorcycle 1,500 miles to see the Beckloff, but it's fun as hell to hang out with them. I might have to fly out to Vegas, but when I go see Matt Baldoni, it's fucking fun as hell. And so that, thankfully, we at least have the internet to meet these people and engage with them. But you know, one of the greatest blessings, if not the greatest blessing in my life right now, is I could go drive and meet these people in person, and you find out, well, more often than not that they're the real article. They're not just some kind of fake posers. There's some really cool people out there.
Yeah. And it's a mixed bag. I mean, we're lucky. I mean, our friends are not, look, we're not friends with wackos on the internet like the Amazing Atheist. Or,
Christ. Jesus.
I heard a quote about him. I don't know, was it the Beckloff saying this about the Amazing Atheist? He's kind of, depending on how you look at it, he's either proof that God doesn't exist or that God does exist. You know, the one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
Because he's just so. I think it was Forney actually that said that. Actually, it could be on one of his most recent live streams. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of freaks out there on the internet, so you got to be careful about it too, because that was a danger when I got on, you know, listening to Beckloff and speaking with him, getting to know him and you know, many different guests he has on the show, getting exposed to all this stuff. And, you know, part of it might be just, you know, our age, Aaron. You know, we're in our 40s and stuff like that. These guys are all not much younger, but, you know, they tend to be 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And they're so plugged into all this stuff that's going on. And when you're Gen X or something like that, a lot of that you don't know about. You know what I mean? You just don't find it. You find it. You're like, holy fuck, man! I can't believe these people actually exist. I mean, I know this must perplex you sometimes. You see how stupid people are, and you're wondering, how are these people still alive? How did they not just get hit by a truck?
I know I can answer it two ways. It's either they come from money, or they're such freaks now that they're the freak show and they make money. Quite literally, like back in the day. The freaks in the freak show, they made significant sums. They did all right for themselves. So, I mean, the Amazing Atheist is a perfect example. He did come from money. I remember looking back into his back. I think his dad was something to do with Hollywood or something. They weren't starving. But then he's such a freak, and he's not faking it. That's what's scary. That people, I think, tune in to watch the train wreck. And then also, I would say, in the case of an Amazing Atheist, or where you would look at it and you're like, my God, this is the Pandora's box. This is horrible. This is ill. This is wrong. You forget, or maybe you'd like to forget, but deep down inside, you know, the percentage of millennials and Gen Zers that are mentally ill and like to commiserate with other losers is at least a third of their population, at least a third. And so since they're unemployed or unemployable, or they got nothing else going on, this is basically their new religion and their social life. And these are kind of like their popular people or their heroes. And so that's how these people make a lot of. So you could see just the freaks and the weirdos, the mentally ill out there. And then the people just rally around them. And, you know, now you have platforms like YouTube where you can make a lot of money being a freak and a weirdo. So that's how they make their money, and that's how they're popular. I don't think, again, getting to the time issue, these people are wasting their lives. I mean, I got way more important stuff to do than watch The View or watch The Amazing Atheist or, you know, watch Channel Awesome or whatever. But these people are, you know, they're not, they're wasting their lives no matter how much. Well, isn't there a guy, Chris always picks on him. This guy he had like millions of dollars. He was one of the most popular YouTubers. And then he just pissed it all away on houses and cars and whores and blow. And now he's got nothing. He's got nothing because he's too lazy to make any more videos. That's kind of the balance or the zen or the universal equilibrium that occurs where, yeah, they're popular and they're freaks, and God, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And to older gentlemen like us, you know, like, what is going on over there? Even if they do make their money, they're not mentally capable of enjoying it or realizing their position, or are capable of being happy in life. I don't think I've ever seen the Amazing Atheist smile once. Not once. He just looks like a perpetually angry individual.
Well, I think I caught a hint of a smile on him when he was pouring that stuff on his penis.
Well, okay, my point. All right. You'd like to think that maybe a good Bill Cosby skit would make you smile, or maybe watching your nephews play. Ah, hey, that's cute. Look, they caught their first fish. Not pouring shit on your genitalia, but
to each his own. No, you know. And you know, most of our listeners are probably younger than we are, and I just like to say, you know, keep your priorities in check. Don't get too wrapped up, even in the voyeuristic way. Don't get too wrapped up in these other people, because you got to ask yourself, how does this benefit your life? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you're just tuning in for the car wreck, how many car wrecks do you want to watch? You know what I mean? At a certain point, it's got to be damaging your psyche or your religious person, your soul. You know what I mean? It's just chill with it, you know?
Well, I
Get
mean,
out there, go for a ride. Go if you're Aaron, go hike a fucking mountain. He loves that shit.
Yeah, drag Beckloff with you. You know, it's kind of like, well, how much Anita Sarkeesian, even if you agree, whether you agree or disagree, like you disagree, you can't, I can't believe Anita Sarkeesian, I can't believe, she's such a feminist, evil person, or, yeah, you go in here, It's like, you're sitting in front of a fucking computer screen. Go outside and play. And this is one of the hypocrisies that you know, I was telling you how I was really angry today, and still a little bit angry, is I get mighty tired of, you could generally say that our sphere, our little neck of the woods here on the interwebs, especially for older guys like you and me, and say Molyneux or Rich Cooper, or I'm trying to think, just some slightly older gentlemen, our goal is to help out and self-improvement and advice, especially in the manosphere, masculine red pill world, is let's improve. And then I look at way too many people who claim to be part of that sphere or this team or this movement, who just are fat, out of shape. All they do is look at the fucking interwebs. They don't go out and play. They don't go on hike. They don't work out. They don't have jobs. They're living at home. And they just have that, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Be the neat, stay at home, don't hustle. But then what really pisses me the fuck off is when some of these people try to dispense advice and act like leaders and guide younger people, even people our age, who are like, you know, presumably you think you're in your upper 30s or lower 40s, you got your shit together. I know way too many people in the red pill manosphere, whatever you want to call it, that are rather well known, and they're dispensing advice. But then when I meet them, I'm like, you're a fucking loser. And worse, you're a hypocrite. How dare you give these people advice? And on top of it, it's not really brilliant advice. It's advice anybody else would be giving you. But Jesus Christ, I don't know if you know who Rich Cooper is, but take a look at Rich Cooper, or say an Ed Lattimore. Maybe you know who he is. These are accomplished men with careers, jobs. They don't live at home. They're in shape. They work out. And then as an aside or an addendum or maybe a passion, they also participate in this community and provide material and help guide young men and women, for those that are willing to listen. But for every one of those, I'd have to say there's like three. I'd say almost 75% of the people out there in the manosphere internet world, especially, and I'll provide this qualification. If you got an avatar and you're a pickup artist, no one knows what the fuck you look like, yeah, you're a fucking poser. 100% of those people with the fucking Roman Greek statues as their fucking avatar and they're giving advice. I'm real sick of these posers dispensing, quote, wisdom when they themselves can't run a fucking mile, can't fucking keep down a job, can't fucking get out of their folks' house. It really irks me. And so that's another reason, not necessarily that I unplugged, because I wasn't that, I didn't like, oh my God, Trump, I can't handle it anymore. It wasn't that. It's just kind of like, once I started meeting all these people, have you ever been to a meetup? You ever go to like one of the earlier Manosphere Red Pill meetups?
No, I didn't. I've yet to do any of it.
It's a sad state. It's fucking sad. But I went to two. I have my own meetups where I meet some fans, but I've gone to two other ones. And it was disheartening. It was really sad and pathetic because you look at the audience and at least 60% of them, you look at them, you're like, oh, wow, you guys just like have no, I mean, you desperately need the help and maybe good you're coming here, but you look at them like 60% of you are not going to put forth the effort to improve your lives. You're just looking for an excuse. You're just looking for an emotional tampon to excuse away your laziness. And that's it. You know, fat, lazy, non-hygienic, fat, unemployed, fat. It's like, and after a while you look, you're like, oh, fuck it. Yeah, okay. If you want to listen, please do. But it's more important that you participate in action. But then what's worse, I'd say 1 and 2 of the quote experts in the manosphere or content producers. You look at them, you're like, what the fuck? Like, no. And then you start to realize, holy shit, this is my industry. This is a reflection upon me. And, oh my God, these are the people who are listening, and these are the people that are giving advice. And so that's another reason why I just kind of had to unplug. And I know I do asshole consulting. I'm on YouTube every day producing content, but it's out of demand. I just couldn't, like, hey, do you want to go to this meetup? Do you want it? It's like, no, really, I don't. No. Hey, we're all going to meet down here. Like, yeah, I know you, and you. And 4 of the 5 of you are having your parents fucking pay for it. Fuck no, I don't want to go. And so that is where it's kind of disheartening and depressing, where there is legitimate, 100% legitimate point and purpose to the creation and movement in the red pill community. But the more and more I look at it, the more and more I'm cripplingly depressed when I see how few men are using it to improve themselves versus excuse themselves, and then how many of the actual leaders, they themselves, are losers. And so that's why I was just kind of like, yeah, you know what? Not only do I got to unplug from politics, I got to unplug from kind of like the pickup artist. Not that I was really a PUA type of guy, but and I even got what triggered this is I had a video request on my opinion of pickup artists that I got to still do. But again, I got to, yeah, you know what? I want to learn about the Korean War. Let's learn about the Korean War. I'm going to download, what was it called? When Diplomacy Fails podcast. I'm going to listen to Russian Rulers History podcast. I'm going to listen to World Class Bullshitters. I'm going to listen to the Beckloff on the Geekery. Because after a while, like, you know, we got more days behind us than in front of us. And if this is going to be the sad charity case where no one's going to actually make conscious efforts and strides towards improving themselves, and we're all going to spout the same Nicene creed about masculinity and excellence and working hard, but no one's going to do it, then it's kind of like, well, what's the point? So,
yeah, it's interesting, Aaron. I can't disagree with anything that you just said. I agree. And what was interesting when I got to know some of these people in the Manosphere, I'm not going to name any names right now because I don't want to.
No, and they don't. We shouldn't, for obvious reasons. Yeah.
But some of these people, like you, when you just say read someone's writings or listen to someone's podcast or watch their videos, something like that, you can kind of create an illusion of who and what they are about. And then when you get to know them, you develop some level of just personal intimacy of just knowing them and having private conversation. You realize some of these people are very deeply flawed human beings. Now that's fine. Everybody is, everybody's human. Everybody's, I certainly am fucked up in all sorts of ways. I'm just more honest about it, I think. And I'm not one to really dispense advice, except in like a kind of a coffee table manner about it. I don't necessarily, I'm not what you would call a content creator like yourself. Like you have a specific expertise in when it comes to finance and kind of creating a life of, kind of a minimalistic life. I don't know if that's kind of how I how I view what you do, and I really enjoy your work in that area. But basically, my presence on the internet is basically interviewing people that I find interesting and intelligent and engaging, and trying to draw more out. Trying to draw more information out of them. That's my whole shtick, basically. That's what my channel is about. If you've watched any of my videos, it's basically about that. I'm giving an audience to someone else, and I'm just kind of like a conduit trying to interview them and bring it more out.
Right. No, and that's cool. It's entertaining and everything. Because God, I enjoyed tuning into your YouTube channel 2 years ago before you decided to go ghost on us. But no, and I appreciate it. But yeah, and I'm not. And you're right. There's nothing wrong with being flawed. Everybody is flawed. My issue is, did you improve? I was horrendously flawed. I was the biggest nerd. I lacked social graces, and not to mention I was a small, skinny kid, so I had to learn to be scrappy and fight and all that other stuff. But I improved. You know, what I'm seeing in my little sphere in the world is nobody has the balls or the work ethic to improve. And that's where it's kind of gets cited. So yes, hey man, if your corner of the internet is just interviewing people, awesome. That'd be awesome. And it'd be a lot less. You don't have to dispense the advice. But I don't know. You got a $600,000 house. You're bought and paid for. You might want to consider offering advice.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially considering my background, where I came from. Right, I don't know how much you know about that, but no,
you were not rich. You were not rich.
No, I was. No, I was not rich.
You didn't have the Cavaricci pants, I bet, back in 1988.
No, I had. I think my mother did my when I was a child. My mother bought my clothes at Sears.
Yeah. Yep. J.C. Penney and Walmart. Yep.
Yeah, this was before Walmart even existed. You know, when I was a little kid, I always had the funky looking clothes that, you know, had went out of style 2 years ago if they were ever in style. And I always, you know, my mother always used, another thing my mother always used to do to save money was she used to buy clothes that were 2 sizes too big for me.
Yeah, you grow into them then.
Yeah, and I always look like a weirdo to everybody else, you know.
Well, I got hand-me-downs from my Uncle Jeff because he was also a very svelte man. And he was also much younger. He was kind of like in between my dad and me in terms of age, kind of an oopsie baby. And then I'd get these nasty, because he was a kid in the early 70s. So here I am in the 80s, getting like these brown, the brown plaid with the big brown, the fucking lapels.
Lapels.
Oh, I could fly if I did this with the, oh my God, they were horrible. Why'd you get the shit kicked out of you in the second grade? I don't know.
Did you see the fucking shirt you made me wear today? It says this color just says "kick my ass."
Oh my God, it was horrible, just horrible. I would have kicked my ass. By the way,
I wanted to say something about. I think, in my opinion, or the most enjoyable video you did was, I don't know if it was a millennial or Gen Z guy wanted to become an honorary Gen X.
Oh, yeah, that was recent.
I hope you do more videos like that. I really fucking love this one.
Well, he paid $100, and that's what I'm going to charge, because I got to print off the certificate. You want a certificate and everything. I had to go buy the fucking stuff at the materials shop. Came out a lot better than I thought it would. But yeah, if anyone else wants to become an honorary member of Gen X, you may do so. It's just going to cost you a bit.
Well, you got to go through Aaron to do this, because it is, let's be honest, it's a religious ceremony.
It is a religious, yeah.
You had the whole get up, and I got to be honest, you know, Aaron, because you're kind of, you know, you're a minimalist. That's my definition of you. You might disagree with it, but that's how I see you. I really appreciated the effort you went in doing that. I thought that was freaking brilliant.
Oh, well, I actually have a creative side. I mean, one time I sewed an entire ninja costume back in college for Halloween. I went as Duff Man, and I made the Duff cans and everything. I mean, I got it. If I get a good idea, I'll run with it. But as of recent, I've just been slammed with work, especially with asshole consulting, that I haven't really had to be very creative. Normally, my creativity goes through my writing, which has suffered as of recent. But yeah, I would, especially with the girls, I could come up with, you know, back before you had social media, I would take Fox News, and people thought that no one knew about the alt print screen. That got me so many girls, because I'd create a fake news story. You know, girl agrees to go with Aaron Clarey, Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan welcome the good news that we'll lower interest rates, and then you send it to her. But yeah, I have a creative streak. It's
no, I believe it. I've seen it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's one thing I want to talk about. I read the book you sent me. By the way, thank you. You sent it to me. Well, I think it was like a year ago.
Well, which one was it?
It was the collection. It was the fall collection of your 2007.
Oh yeah, okay.
And one of the posts was really good, and I think it was you were describing. Now, I read it a while ago. Let's test my memory. And you were talking about your drive through Philadelphia. Okay, does this ring a bell? You've written a lot, so I don't know if this is ringing a bell for you. And you were talking about all the urban blight and all that, and Philadelphia is a classic example of what happens to liberals. When liberals are put in charge. Let's put it that way. And you said something that was really, really good. Something that I always known but was never said so bluntly, only the way the captain could put it, about how, what if Hillary Clinton, the Democrats, Barack Obama, all these people in power know that all these policies are not going to work, but they don't care.
Right.
Because it's in their interest for them not to work.
Right. Well, I'll give you I wouldn't say necessarily one up, because the devastation and the damage the Democrats have done to poor communities is appalling. But take a look at Oprah. I wonder it, because Oprah grew up poor. Oprah busted her ass off. Oprah is a very clever businesswoman. I have a hard time, even if she is team woman, to believe that she even believed half of her shit. Do you think she really cares with her? What is she worth now? For $3.5 billion. I mean, do you think she cared how many millions of American women's lives she ruined? Because I've seen Oprah fans, and I know a couple now because my dad kept getting married. But anyway, I know these women now who they were devout Oprah. Oh my God, Oprah. They're old. You want to talk about post-wall apocalypse? Here it is for any Oprah woman that was listening to that fucking slot back in the 80s. They're old. They're out of shape. Most of them do not have a man, not because they're widows, but because they divorced their husband or the husband. And if they do have a husband, they did that stuff that Oprah and You Go Girl isn't, that their husband is now just this completely, I wouldn't say beta cucked, but defeated man who just certainly has no desire to woo her anymore. Fuck it, I just don't care to get divorced. He just wants to be left alone. That right there is, I think, proof positive that a lot of these people damn well know what they're doing. Higher education is another perfect example. Don't tell me these deans and diversity reserve assistant vice director break glass in case of emergency diversity directors, or these adjunct professors or these professors. Don't tell me they don't know that they're totally fucking over their students. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me an African-American studies professor believes for a second in the fucking slot they're teaching in black kids. Because if they actually gave a damn about black kids, they'd say, dude, this is a worthless degree. This is a completely worthless degree. You should not get this degree. You should you want to close the wage gap, go be an engineer. No, they will sell their own. They will drink their own children's blood and eat their young if they have to. Women's study, another perfect example. How many women's studies professors or feminists do you know that are really happy? If they really cared about women, say, you know what? Stay in shape. Make a man happy, go major in engineering, go become an accountant. Don't do this shit. No, these people damn well know what they're doing. And it's the epitome of evil to betray anyone, but especially your own kind, especially those you purport to be hanging out or helping out. And so I'd say probably the most egregious example would be the Democrats lying to poor people, especially minorities and women. But in other smaller but no less damaging instances, feminists lying to women, African-American professors, African-American history or African-American studies professors, or any hyphenated American studies professors teaching the same ethnicity that majors in that study should just be disgustingly ashamed of themselves. And then just academia in general, and then Oprah. But you know what? At the same time, I'm kind of wondering, good for them. If these people are dumb enough to fall for it, I can't really blame Oprah. I can't really. I mean, yeah, it's immoral, but she's the one with $3.5 billion, and you and I don't live over on Navy Pier. So I, you know, and no one put a gun to these women's head to believe it, but they believed it. So it's like, maybe selling lies is more, well, it is more profitable, but maybe it's not as immoral as I think.
Well, I think it was, I don't know, something I read of yours, or perhaps maybe it was a video you made where you kind of alluded to the fact that you could have been, you know, made a shitload more money than you make now if you were to sell lies instead of hard truths.
Oh yeah, in banking, if I just approved loans, I would have been way ahead. I almost guarantee I could have been a millionaire by now. If I had just approved loans and gone with it, I would. And then, especially, let's say you and I, all the effort we've put into the internet, Manosphere, and alt-right and all that, what if we put that into rah-rah feminism and not the generic crap that's written at ExoJane, but what if I were to take my economic abilities and my financial mathematic abilities and just come up with some absolutely skewed statistics, mathematically correct, but absolutely skewed and misleading, and just created the ultimate lying book that feminists and women wanted to hear, with empirical data and proof that proved, you know, women were superior or something. I've debated it, and, you know, things are going good now. But if they ever go bad, that's probably my next step. Is, you know what? And who's going to bring me down? It's going to be these people who think I'm an evil, misogynist, bigoted, misanthrope, whatever. It's like, yeah, you know what? You are right. I think I should lie, because what hurts leftists more than me are other leftists. Your professors who are leftists that sell you a $100,000 degree that's worthless. Leftists who vote in the religion of peace, who then get rammed over by the religion of peace in urban liberal dwellings. It's now, I think, if I get paid to push people off the cliff who hate my guts, I think I can do that. I think I can start, especially if they're going to protest or complain and try and, you know, take whatever modicum of my my entrepreneurial endeavors that I have here away. So if that happens, then yeah, then I'm going to become a really, really, really dark and bad and quite literally evil preacher's kid. But you won't know it because I'd have to remain anonymous. It'd have to be under a pen.
Yeah, you'd have to create a nom de plume.
Right.
I hope you don't completely go over to the dark side, so to speak. I kind of enjoy your tuning into your hate facts. Because you know, I think what you provide is kind of keeping people grounded. You know, you're not telling people follow your bliss and, you know, this other stuff.
No, I hope it does too. And it's great because we've done a lot of good. I get a lot of I hate to say fan mail, but follow-up letters, let's say, from clients at Asshole Consulting. And it's odd because Asshole Consulting is now 4 years old. So I'm starting to see some kids like who were 17 that are 21 now, or 18 or 22. Hey man, just want to let you know, in like 2015, you said not to major in this. And now I graduated 2 years ago and I'm making 65 grand. Or, hey, I just made lieutenant in the United States Army and I got this certification. And it's like, oh dude, it's like paying off. And that's great. That's like, it's awesome to see. Well, that also,
you can't even put a dollar amount on that. Like, there's a certain feeling that comes with that because we are human beings, and there's something that just feels good. I mean, it's kind of like what you were saying earlier about how money becomes less important and, you know, enjoyment becomes more important. So there's certain rewards that you can't really measure in dollars and cents quite. It's like knowing you made a positive impact on someone, or someone realized something positive specifically because of an action that you took. That feels good.
Oh, it feels good, but it also feels great knowing the amount of hell I made them avoid. Like, I can't think of anything worse than having a worthless degree and then banging away and trying to get jobs, and one, not getting them, two, having the student loans, but then three, having no fucking clue why I'm failing because I was told by parents to professors for 25 years that this was going to work. And I think that's one of the more damaging ones. But what I really like, and this is where the evil comes back in, I guarantee you, I have cost academia $10 million. I have taken $10 million out of the mouths of liberal arts professors, leftist professors, and big education. And I mean, they get $700 billion a year, so it's not going to stop them. But I like to think that, you know, yeah, I've made it so they've had to lay off some adjunct. I've made it so there's one less class that professor gets to teach. I like the fact I am costing evil, leftist, socialist, parasitic assholes money because I'm telling the truth about the worthlessness of the product they're trying to peddle and sell. So it's great to see the kids now, if I'm so captains in the army, seeing these young men and women succeed. That's great. That's awesome. It's also great to see that they avoided the pain and agony I went through, or the pain and agony they could have gone through. But then, man, that cherry on the top is that I cost the leftists a fair amount of money, and prevented a lot of brainwashing too. I cost them probably a couple thousand votes too, I'd like to think.
Well, yeah, because there is truth in that, because then these people, because they become successes by taking advice that you laid out to them, and then they become models for other people, either directly or indirectly. They pass on the knowledge to other people, just look at them succeeding, and they model their behavior instead of the bullshit they're being told by the establishment. Yeah, go to college, take out $100,000 loan to get a degree in fucking women's studies, which hold on a second, let me turn this damn thing off. So to do that. So it's an exponential thing. So it really can't. You don't even know how much you've actually costed these people, right? Because let's say the guy that you mentioned before he's a lieutenant in the army now, and he was previously thinking about getting a degree in I don't know, art history or interpretive feminist dance or some bullshit like that. Right. And then he goes on and becomes a success, and he's in the army. He's going to learn. He's going to learn
to kill people.
Well, yeah. Besides that, actually, I have a close friend of mine that's a senior officer in the Air. He's actually a full colonel in the Air Force, and he's career guy in the military. And they've put him through school. He's never had to pay a dime for it. He's learned all sorts of shit. I mean, most of it he's not even allowed to talk about. But when that guy retires, which I think is going to be in 2 years, I can guarantee you he's going to be offered a job, with a starting salary of $500,000 because of all the and this guy's fought in I don't know how many wars and the shit that he's learned. There's no other way he could have done it except through the having the government pay for it. Mm-hmm. So that's just on that same vein is what I was saying.
Right. No, and I kind of hope that if you get into positions of leadership, I don't want to say power, but leadership, that lieutenant now here, he's got a sergeant, he's got an enlisted man. Come on, man, Lieutenant so and so. I don't know what. Hey, read this book. Oh, hey, don't major in that. And so as people get promoted through whatever variety and paths through life, you can influence other people. I'd like to think my book, The Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty, I was kind of hoping that would blow up and just take down. I just wanted it to take away the black vote, not the black female vote, because they love their government checks way too much. They love them way more than they do their own men. But if I could just get the black males to not vote Democrat and realize just how much they're getting fucked by the Democrat Party, that was one. And there's certainly some hope. I've definitely gotten some black men out of poverty, and that's great because that's where you see the greatest. Helping a kid who's relatively well off from a moderate suburb change his degree from marketing to engineering. Okay, that's good. But you take someone who's growing up in Section 8. This happened more than once where the mom says she'll disown him if he goes off to college because she won't get as much Section 8 housing money. That is saving someone from a life of hell. And that's really good when you hear that too, because of the drastic improvement, just to get them out of pain and misery and here's normal, that goes away too.
Well, that's actually heartbreaking that mothers would do that, but it doesn't surprise me because
it's hard. You have no idea. I mean, it's not necessarily relegated to the black community, but disproportionately. There's also the common thing where they'll use their kid's social security number to get credit cards and ruin their kids' credit before they're even fucking out of college, even going to college. It's horrible. It's just disgusting. And I thought I hated black single mothers before. Now I really like the shit that I hear. I'm like, you fucking scumbags. You're using your fucking own goddamn children. It's like, no, the gloves come off. Gloves come right the fuck off.
Well, in that situation, I believe that they should come off. And you put on a pair of fucking sap gloves and fucking hit them with it.
No, that'd be racist now.
Well, I don't really make the distinction between, black single mothers and white single. You're a fucking single mother. Well, we're not talking widows, by the way, anyone listening.
We don't, you know what's great? We don't have to provide that caveat anymore. It's not even, we don't have to do that anymore. I think there's enough people right now, they know, and the people that would come in, I know, what about widows? They know what they're doing, so we don't have to provide the caveat anymore.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's, if you don't understand our honest and good intentions to help out our fellow man and women, and to point out evil people, and you immediately go running behind either technicalities, the color of your skin, or your plumbing, just go fuck yourself. Just go fuck yourself. Not only are you evil, you're a fucking coward too. And I'm just done with it. I'm not dealing with the right there.
Well, Aaron Clarey tells it like it is. We've been talking for a little over an hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. And I know we could go on a lot longer, but I like to leave people hungry for more. Now, cool. Aaron Clarey, you can find him at captaincapitalism.blogspot.com. Is that correct?
Correct.
I will put the link in the description. Anybody listening to me, you probably already know about Aaron anyway, but I'll put the link in there. Tune into him and read his blog. He gives advice, and it's no nonsense advice. So look, he's not going to sugarcoat, as you can tell if you've been listening. That's like he is, and you should appreciate that, because a lot of other people will just tell you what you fucking want to hear, and whatever. So anyway, we're going to wrap this up. Aaron, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, John.
It was a pleasure to have you on.
Good.
Anyway, that is all for this episode. And to crib the captain, toodles. So